I'm here today with Andy, who is the design consultant for Botanika. Let's talk about it. Can you talk about the design strategies that were integrated in Botanika, given that it is a tropical environment? And how were you able to integrate all of the design considerations like high-end living, sustainability, and aesthetics?
I think there was a rather enlightened way that the terms of reference and the ambitions for the project were put together. That was to some degree kind of future-proof. And how does one put together a building that's green and addresses universal thinking about what living should be, sort of going into the future. And of course, at the time, the issues of the pandemic or anything like that were not even contemplated, right? But these universal values of healthy living and a closeness to nature, the idea that sort of social fabric should be somehow integrated into design, a place where people can actually meet and be non-intimidating. The project ambitions were not to absolutely max out everything, right? Which is typically what many developers do, go to the max. And I think they were quite generous in saying, look, this building doesn't have to be a gigantic high-rise, it had to be reasonable, fit to a reasonable carbon footprint, about what the building was all about. And there's a whole set of issues of how to actually site the buildings that avoided or addressed the issue of how buildings look into each other, to introduce a curve to the buildings. That curve generated a whole host of ideas. From a view perspective, none of the buildings are actually looking directly into each other. In this particular case, it's only at the tangents that it happens. The view corridors, in effect, from a unit do not directly face into another apartment straight. So you always get this oblique view, and so there's a privacy issue that's protected. The second aspect, I think, from an environmental side, was the curve introduced and addressed the way actually air flows. And you get this aspect of kind of a laminar flow over a curved surface. It's almost like an airplane wing. It actually induces air to move more quickly by a surface as opposed to blocking it. The idea of aerodynamic principles fell into place, and you get this very cool building, very appropriate for a tropical setting, right? And maximum cooling in effect. The upshot of all of this, of course, is that you have a very open scheme, and the idea of blurring the difference between what's outdoors and indoors becomes this really nice feature of the building. The future that we are all walking into, that is so much more relevant and sort of redefines the idea of what exclusive means. I think it's exclusivity in the quality of thinking about design. It's not about showing off. It's really about living well.
Like you said, future-proofing.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we thought about this project, it was our hope that people who lived here and came and saw could see through the flack, so to speak. And whether they could articulate this to themselves or not, that they would feel, without even having to be said, that there was substance in how the thing was put together. That it was well built, the spaces are friendly and non-intimidating, and somehow fits the context in which it was built, culturally and in the urban context in which it was built. We think that some of the best buildings that are put together and the best projects, very little needs to be said and very little needs to be hyped. That somehow the invisible language of feeling the place comes through. So that's our hope for the project.